Steve, a lot had been made over the course of the year about having a young team, but your leadership group here going into the playoffs is a strong one.
It is. It starts with Trevor Smith and Drew McIntyre. Two guys we're going to rely heavily on. And, we've talked about it. These are short-term events. There's going to be adversity during these short-term events, and we have to make sure between periods or after games that if we are facing adversity that we handle it the right way. But those two guys have played a lot of games at this level. They've been through these wars before, and they know what it takes. So, we'll make sure we stay the course. The highs can't get too high and the lows can't get too low.
Nice to have a guy deep in the lineup too, and Jared Smithson, that's also a strong leader and a veteran.
We talked about his experience in Milwaukee. He played in Milwaukee, so another veteran guy that will lead the right way. He's not as vocal as maybe Drew or as Trevor, but he does lead by example. And it's nice for me to know between periods that with players like we've mentioned that the right things will be being said.
You've not only got some veteran leadership in Corbinian Holzer on the blue line, you've also got a guy who is an assistant captain in Andrew McWilliam.
He's been good, and that was a little bit of a risk for us, or a gamble, putting a first-year pro, putting a letter on him. But he's a character guy too. He speaks his mind. He's full of energy on the ice, as we all know, and we need to get him back in our lineup. So his play does a talk for him. He's a tough man, but between periods, he's one of those guys. They're all different, and he's one of those guys that brings life and energy to the dressing room.
Trevor Smith's got some games up, but how important is it to see a guy like Jerry D'Amigo get games up and then come back and work in the playoffs for the Marlies?
Well, it's been great for us this year. When you look at Ashton and Holland, Greg McKay got a game this year. It's been great that the Leafs have rewarded some of these guys with some of their play. So now that they're back here, their attitudes have been just fantastic. But it starts with lines of communication. Dave Poole, and I've said it before, the lines of communication have been just so positive that when the players leave Toronto and come back down to us, they're coming down with the right mindset.
You mentioned Andrew McWilliam. He hasn't played since last month. Where is he in terms of this?
Yeah, our expectation is he'll play in the first game. That'll be totally up to him, but our expectation and what we're being told is he should play game one.
Spencer Abbott, left practice early again. Where is he at?
Yeah, again, dealing with an upper body injury. Getting better day by day. He will be in the series at some point. For me, hopefully it's game one, but if not, we'll see him at some point.
No Holland or Ashton either? What are their status?
It's maintenance. These guys have been through a lot of games this year and a lot of miles in airplanes and buses. So, our job now is to make sure that when this series starts, that they're ready to go. So that's the plan.
You had a couple games against Milwaukee this year. Came out on the wrong end. What do you take from those games heading into this year?
Well, like anything, it's a new season now. You learn from your mistakes. We've identified some of their strengths, some of their areas that we think we can exploit. We've seen them play a number of games against various other teams too. So they're a good team. They've got 9 forwards up front that can hurt you if you turn the puck over, a fourth line that's full of energy, and they've got a good back end and solid goaltending. So it's going to be a tight series, and we know that.
And the 2 losses, what are some of the mistakes that you point to?
Well, you know what? Again, I'm going to cut our guys some slack. The schedule maker hasn't done us a lot of favors when we've played Milwaukee this year, but I don't want to take anything away from Milwaukee. They came in here, earned a good win against us, but at the same time, the last game we played them in Milwaukee, we were coming off, as you guys know, an extremely long road trip.
You mentioned Trevor Smith just recently won a Calder Cup with Norfolk a couple years ago. What does it mean to have a guy like that who's been so key recently?
It means everything, because he's had to deal with adversity through the playoffs. He's had to deal with highs in the playoffs. So, again, he's going to be the guy, as I said, with Drew McIntyre, that we're going to lean on as a staff to make sure the messaging in the dressing room is right, and he's more than capable of doing that.